Good morning, all participants. Good morning, sir. And my dear participants, you all have joined us again in this auspicious morning. So I welcome you all again in this session. Om ya atmada balda yasya vishwa upasate prashisham yasya deva yasya chhaya amritam yasya mrityuhu kasmai devaya havisha videma. With this prayer, with this mantra, let us busy ourselves, heart and soul, in the practical observance in our daily lives of the commandment of that bliss imparting God, who gives to the earnest true knowledge of Himself as well as of the soul, who blesses us with physical, moral, and spiritual strength, whom all the enlightened adore, and whose visible and truthful rule is the universe, the righteous acknowledge, whose protection provides emancipation, and whose indifference causes all kinds of miseries and death. इस प्रार्थना के साथ हम आज के कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत करते हैं। आप सभी का यहाँ पर हार्दिक स्वागत है। हमारे साथ हमारे प्रोफेसर्स जुड़ चुके हैं, हमारे साथ हमारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स जुड़ चुके हैं। एक बार फिर मैं आपका पुनः स्वागत करता हूं आज के इस चतुर्थ दिवस के कार्यक्रम में। नाउ आई वुड लाइक टू इनवाइट प्रोफेसर पंकज मदान सर फॉर ब्लेसिंग अस विद अ मंत्रा एंड हिज blessings and wishes for all of us.
Thank you, Dr. Suyesh. Today I'll take a mantra from Bhagavad Gita which talks about leading by example. Yeda charite shrestha yat pramanah kurte lokasya danuvatate. It talks about when Krishna warns Arjuna that he needs to lead by example. Leaders derive their credibility, respect, and power from their unwavering commitment to walking the talk. So therefore, participants, we all need to lead by example if we talk about leadership. So now I would request Professor S.C. Most welcome, sir. Shreya, can you welcome Professor S.C. Purohit?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. A very warm good morning to all of you. I welcome all the eminent speakers and guests from all over the country, from different walks of life, their knowledge and vast experience with ourselves. Now, before starting the event, I must thank the goddess Saraswati, who is a goddess of learning, knowledge, and dignity. या कुंदेन्दु तुषार हार धवला या शुभ्र वस्त्रावृता या वीणावर दंड मंड तकरा या श्वेत पद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शंकर प्रभृति देवः सदा वंदिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निशेष जाड्या. Meaning here by this, may Goddess Saraswati, who is fair like the jasmine-colored moon and whose pure white garland is like frosty dewdrops, who is adorned with radiant white cloths and on whose beautiful palm and arm rests the Veena, whose throne is a white lotus and who is surrounded and respected by gods beginning with Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu and Lord Mahesha. Protect me, I beseech her totally remove my laziness and sluggishness. So far we have completed our journey of 3 days and a 5 days program AICT approved online FTP on academic leadership and management of professional education. Moving further, we have an eminent speaker with us named H.C. Purohit ji. Let us introduce Professor H.C. Purohit is currently the head of Department, School of Management and Dean, Students Welfare, Doon University, Dehradun. Professor Purohit ji also held the office of Registrar, Doon University. Before joining Doon University, he has also served as Dean, Faculty of Management Studies, Proctor of University and Media Coordinator of University at VBS, Purvanchal University, Jaunpur. His teaching and research interests include marketing management, consumer behavior, marketing research, and strategic management. He has to his credit a number of papers presented in the national and international conferences. He has also chaired the sessions and delivered keynote lectures at various conferences of national and international repute. He has been a part of many FDPs and MDPs in the role of program course director, coordinator, and as a resource person. Professor Purohit has been awarded with the Fellow of Indian Commerce Association in 2016, the Best Teacher Award by Lions Club in 2016. He has been a member of Executive Council member of All India Commerce Association since 2015 till 2018. Professor Manubhai Shah Memorable Research Award in 2011. He has also conducted various programs and research studies under the funding of ICCR and UGC. Sir, I heartily welcome to this FDP program. Over to you, sir. Hello, I'm audible. Over to you, sir. Over to you, sir. Professor H.C. Purohit.
Am I audible?
Professor Purohit,
Yes.
welcome.
Yes, sir. Welcome, sir.
Please start.
Yes, yes. I'm starting, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Madan Saab. And I must congratulate Professor Madan and Faculty of Management Studies as well as Faculty of Engineering, Gurukul Kangri University for organizing and hosting this FDP program, especially for the faculty members who are working in different capacities with different organizations, different institutions and universities. So the discussion in today's session is on the strategy how to reform universities and its departments. And especially now we have national education policy. So in the light of the NEP 2020, what strategy can be applied? Right from if you look into the issue, Indian higher education system, the leadership driven program is now going on under the noble leadership of Professor Madan. And he is very senior management guru, continuously imparting and grooming the new generations as a leader of the future, corporate leader or academic leaders. So my words of appreciation to Professor Madan Saab and his team for organizing this FDP on a very important issue. Especially in the context of academics, there is no such training program. Is designed or training program to groom the personality, to develop the human resource or human capital, like other organizations in different services, in civil services, in other services, the training program is there, but we have only orientation and refresher or MDP or FDP types of programs. And it is after joining of the services or after when it is required to be promoted to the next stage. So I will share my the contents that I will be discussing in the next 1 hour. and then we will also try to highlight the strategies that is required to reform. And when a professor is appointed as assistant professor in any institution, so what is required, the basic qualification that we earned from different universities or different colleges or institutions as per the existing education system. That education system includes admission process, examination, evaluation, and we are, awarded the degree. And with that degree, we move ahead, we proceed ahead, and we got opportunity to serve as an assistant professor. We start our career, or then we move ahead to associate, and then we become professor. And after 10 to 12 or 15 years of professorship, now we are entitled for vice chancellorship. And every every professor is a potential candidate for vice chancellor. So all the professors who fulfill that qualification, they apply, and some of them got opportunity, they get opportunity, and then they serve. But right from the assistant to the vice chancellorship, there is no training program, and whatever assumption is there for fixing the period of professorship for 10 to 12 years, it is presumed that now the person is having the capabilities to run the institution, to lead the institution as head of the organization. It is presumed. Leadership starts from the top. So leadership, driven system we have. If in the department I am working as head of the department, or I am dean of the faculty, and there are faculties, professors, associate professor, assistant professors, and then there is ministerial staff. So with the help of all those, if the ministerial staff thinks that the quality of research should be like this, is it possible? If the ministerial staff also categorized into two sections, one is clerical and another is grade D. So if grade D employee of my school or my department, my faculty, is conceiving some idea, he's articulating a vision to develop the department, is it possible? No. So the idea should be articulated, should be conceived by the top leader. And every leader, they have some vision in their mind, and everybody in the school or in the university or in the department, in the faculty, they are also waiting for that vision. They also want to work on the vision of the leader. So leader's vision is very important. If visionless leader cannot, do anything, cannot contribute to the progress of the organization, progress of the university, progress of the education system, nothing can be expected. So vision is very important component. If a leader is having, we have number of colleges, we have number of universities, number of institutions, and then we have an international, national level repute institutions. We have CSIR laboratories. We have standalone universities also, medical universities, agriculture university, horticulture university. We have legal studies, several technical universities. So standalone universities are also there. Multidisciplinary universities are also there. So different kind of setup we have. The first kind of university system, we have central universities, and we have state universities, and we have private universities, we have deemed to be universities, we have colleges, autonomous colleges, we have government colleges, we have self-financed colleges. So a diverse system of, and they all are having different kind of recruitment policies. They have different kind of mechanisms as far concern their pedagogy, as far concern their course contents, their research methodology related issues, how to conduct, how to innovate, how to initiate. So different, if you go to CSIR laboratories, or if you go to national or internationally recognized repute institutions, then seed money is provided for the faculty as to initiate his or her research. But if you join any state university, if you join any other university, that kind of facility is missing. So we should have uniformity. If we want to excel in this particular sector. And despite this, vast higher education system, at internationally, as far concerned the ranking of Times Higher Education or QS ranking or Shanghai ranking or whatever ranking, BRICS ranking, Asian ranking, very limited, minimal number of institutions have registered their results. So that is also very important, that what kind of parameter they have set and what kind of parameter we have. So we should have our own. I would like to share my presentation, and then it will be much better to discuss the whole issue. So what strategy is to be applied to develop the?
सर आपका कोई पीपीटी दिखा रहे हैं आप ना?
Yes, PPT.
Okay.
PPT is here. So we have number of institutions that I was discussing, and despite those huge number, we have number of graduates, we have number of colleges, number of faculty members. Everything is there, but we are not in a position to register ourselves as international, as far concerned the parameters laid down by the different funding agencies. So we are not in a position to occupy that rank. So what is to be done? What strategy is to be applied? How to reform the institute, department, and university? That is very important. So I have already discussed the brief things. The theme of the education, higher education, is confined into majorly into three categories, which is teaching, research, and extension. And then the expansion of those includes people, includes partnership, proper utilization of the resources are also there. So what is to be done in the category? We have to discuss the programs. So education related is concerned with teaching, examination, evaluation, and declaration of the results. So every university is having different mode of admission, different kind of. So that is very important as far concerned the higher education. What is the parameter of teaching? What is the modules? Somewhere we have semester system, somewhere in the colleges, traditional colleges, we have annual system.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Sorry to interrupt, but can you please share the screen in full?
Okay.
Sir, please. Yes, please press the button of.
Press the button F5.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, I am trying.
Or you can just click on the slide presentation, sir.
Yes, yes, that is.
Slideshow on the ribbon. The presentation will become on a full screen, sir.
Sir, it is on the lower right hand corner. Yes. The last button, sir. Yes, this one, sir.
Okay.
No, before that, sir.
This 64%?
No, sir. इससे पहले है, sir, जो. Yes, slide.
Now
it is okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So I was talking of the basic parameters of higher education, which includes teaching, research, extension. And I was talking of the teaching, which includes, which is in this category of education. So education means we have to look into the admission process. We have to look the examination patterns, reforms, and then we have to discuss the evaluation pattern and declaration of the results and awarding of degrees. Research is very important component which is to be addressed. And as far concerned the traditional pattern that we are having, the research totally based on the individualistic. What a professor or a researcher is wishing, except those institutions where the funds are given by the government or which are especially and exclusively meant for research, promotion of research conduction like CSIR laboratories and other ICMR labs or other laboratories. But in the general universities and general colleges, the research is uh, based on the individual supervisor or individual professor's skill and their insight and the infrastructure provided by that. That is why this leadership concept is here, and what strategy as head of the institution, as leader of the institution is to be developed. Then the people who are, stakeholder who associated with the organization, with the university, what is the expectation of the society, what is the expectation of the students. We have to measure the expectation and try to meet the expectations by offering the input, of offering the programs and designing the programs which are having implication in the society to the people. And then definitely the partnership engagement is very important if we want to have the quality of research and we want to associate, improve the teaching quality. So we should have association with other institutions, other colleagues and other organizations. And similarly, the resources are to be utilized properly. So these are the issues that we have to look into, that we have to consider when we are moving. So how to next, it is not running. This is the problem. So university should plan as a leader. We have to plan the improvement and strategy to develop the departments, to develop the colleges, where we can have a proper implementation strategy, where we can develop a team to conduct the quality research. And in the university level, it is can be constituted under the chairmanship of vice chancellor, but in colleges and institutions, the director should take the initiatives. That is very important component. I would like to share some stories of the leaders. The leader who are supposed to be the role model of the employees, role model of the faculty members. So in Varanasi Hindu University, BHU, one vice chancellor joined who has been alumni of that university. So when he joined the university, after joining, he asked his rector to host a meeting, and in that meeting he invited all the professors, all the deans and heads, and then he shared his research paper, which was published in as a lead article in Nature. So the vice chancellor was Padma Shri Professor Dr. Lalji Singh Ji, former director of CCMB. He has been an alumni. So what message he want to convey? Very first day of his, first day in his office, that the quality is important. So he, as a leader, he tried to exhibit his contribution to the society. So leaders should try to develop as a vice chancellor, as a head, if you are there. So we have to set the example. We should be role model to the faculties and to the students, as I have already mentioned, the people, the stakeholders who are there, who are responsible. Next. So then, if that kind of leadership is there, so this leadership will be will come through the mission and vision of the leader. What vision we are having. So we have to exhibit our vision to the faculties, to the teachers, to the students, and share this vision that is to be disseminated to all the concerned people, that I am having, that we are having, and we should have the we should work on this particular issue, this vision, And then the vision is to be translated into mission. If vision is not in a position to define and we are not to translate vision into mission, then again it will be very difficult. So how we can work, how we can translate, and how we can um, contribute in that way is also very important. So this is what, uh, for example, I have quoted. So we have the advancement of learning by teaching and research and its dissemination by every means. And then we have to, vision will work as a team, bringing our staff, students, alumni, college, faculties together. Then we have to do this in such, in which it will benefit the society locally, regionally, nationally, and globally. And we have to build the university long-standing traditions. So traditions are very, as the Gurukul Kangadi University is having its very rich and long traditions. So that is to be maintained. As with the start of the program, they have also tried to maintain the traditions. And with the freedom and foster the culture in a innovative and collaborative way. So these are very important issues. Then we are committed for quality. Equality is very important. We have to equity and inclusivity. These two are the basic objectives of the education. And in this new education policy, this equity and inclusivity is highly considered. The government, with this national education policy, try to provide autonomy to the students, autonomy to the faculties. The students are having the autonomy of entering and exiting. They can exit anytime as per their convenience, and they can enter. They have the autonomy to choose the discipline, to choose the subject. They are having the autonomy to choose the institutions, choose the universities, the faculties also. So there is no, reason, no language barrier, no geographical boundaries. So that is what the equity and inclusivity is here in this new education policy. Then we have to set the strategy for collaboration, and it is it is not the sole responsibility of the faculty. We have to include administrations and then collective strategies to be formed for having the internationally recognition and rankings, and so that we can emerge as international institution. As a leader, it is our responsibility to seek the ideas from alumni. Alumni association is very important. In India, we have different rating institutions, different rating agencies. So as per those all, if you look into the international ranking agencies and the national ranking agencies, the merely or the very limited difference is there. And that difference, as far concerned the world ranking agencies criteria, they are focusing on the research. And as far concerned the next 7 parameters or other NIRF ranking is there now, Atal ranking for innovation, achievement, institutional innovation and achievement is also there. So different kind of rankings are practiced. But the Times Higher Education or QS or Shanghai, the world ranking institutions and the organizations, they are highly focusing on the research outcome. And their research outcome is based on the innovation. And this research innovation, if you look the broad criteria, the how many of the faculty members or employees or alumni got this Nobel Prize? So if a person, if an employee, if a student of our university or our institution is being, conferred with Nobel Prize, it means if a person is reaching to that height, then definitely he or she is having the index number. They are having the patents, they are having the citations. So all other criteria are subdued if the larger objective is achieved. So we have to think for Nobel. If the vision of the leader is like this. When we are trying to have the uh, innovative research, or we are trying to create infrastructure or platform or environment where everybody can uh, feel motivated, everybody want to contribute. Such type of environment is to be created by the leader. And if everything is there, so we have to think for novel. If a leader is thinking for that, then the citation, indexing, patent, all are inclusive with this novel. So definitely the organization will be somewhere. If not at that level, but somehow it will be somewhere, and that will certainly and definitely help the organization to grow. So we have to develop the strategy on the campus, particularly among the faculties. Institutions should recognize the strategy and create consistency and synergies. Synergy is very important, and consistency. If we don't have this, we are in isolation, there is no synergy, there is no linkage with the society, with the, if the laboratory research work is going on and it has no implication, and it is not linked with this farmers, not linked with the common man, not linked with the society, then it has no less importance. Academic research is there. Unfortunately, what is happening, the education is not only for the scoring API. We are conducting research to score API. We are attending conferences to score API. So API is different thing, and education is different. But unfortunately, due to poor mentorship or whatever, other things may be there. In Gita, two types of karmas are being said. One is kriya. Kriya we do for our living. We earn money to purchase food items. We earn to pay our children's education. For our living, we are doing. We have joined this profession to earn. This is kriya. We are teaching and we are being paid. So this is what we are doing, kriya. And every animal, every on this planet of Earth, every animal does kriya. So kriya is for our own living. Kriya is for our own livelihood. So every animal is doing. What is the difference between a human being and an ordinary animal? No difference is there. Every animal does kriya for their livelihood, for living of our own. So human beings are supposed to do karma. Karma, when we you bring the smile on others, which is not paid, which is where the action for what we are not paid. There is no honorarium, there is no remuneration for karma. So we should have the sense of performing our karma beyond the defined job. Beyond this program is being organized to groom the uh, academic leaders, is beyond classroom teaching, beyond this laboratory research work. So we have to think beyond the uh, um, defined surroundings and defined circle. So that is karma. And if we perform karma, then we bring happiness on others' face. So human being, by our profession, if we are teaching and we are being paid, so we are not doing any extra. We are not. If a surgeon, if a doctor is treating a patient, he is not doing karma. He has opted this doctor's profession, as we have opted this teaching, as others opted as engineer or advocate or so on and so forth. So he has opted this profession to earn for his livelihood. So he is doing his kriya, not karma. Karma will be only when we can expect a society where there is no disease. When the doctors would like to work to make the society free of disease, there is no illness in the society. That is karma. A policing, when they control the crime, controlling the crime is not the highest level of policing. Policing can attain the highest level of police professionalism by controlling by eliminating the crime from the society. So if we perform karma, then only we can attain highest level of professionalism. So highest level of professionalism cannot be attained by performing kriya. Every animal is doing that kriya for their livelihood. So similarly in teaching, in research, in any walk of life, as a leader or as a faculty or as a human being, whatever profession we opted, if we are performing, routines, we are not attaining highest level of professionalism. What we are doing, we are simply doing kriya, and by performing kriya, we are earning for our bread and butter, for our livelihood, to purchase food, to manage our children's education, and other expenditure related to health and other issues. So, by performing karma, and that is said in Gita, so every professional, my take on this issue in today's discussion is, if we are a leader, so we should not only focus on kriya. We should try to attain highest level of professionalism by performing karma, which is not paid out of remuneration, which is for what we are not paid any honorarium or remuneration. So if this is done, then definitely we will achieve. So leaders should try to provide this kind of platform in the university, in the organization, and we have the democracy set of structure where we can strengthen the, like Oxford University, they have developed such kind of facilities, such kind of environment. Is there other institutions, overseas organizations, leading world-class universities, they have developed and they have created environment. So can we do this? That is the job of a leader. That is the role of a leader. So improvement, we should try to improve every day. As a leader, we should ask ourselves, can we create an environment, can we create an atmosphere where everybody who comes to work feels delighted, motivated, inspired? If this is if this kind of environment is there, then definitely everybody will contribute. We should ask ourselves every day, after end of the day, what we have contributed today, what value addition we have done, what is our contribution. If we are adding some value, as a leader, we should provide the environment, we should create the atmosphere where everybody should feel inspired, motivated, want to excel. And whenever this new idea, innovative idea will come only when the people will feel motivated, they will feel inspired, they will have belongingness. So that is the job, that is the role of a leader, that we have to create environment. As a leader, can we create environment? As a professional, can we attain highest level of professionalism by performing karma? So we have to remember these mantras, then definitely we will be a successful leader. Otherwise, having 20 years, 30 years of professorship, and we will become vice chancellor, and we will not have the idea how to run the university, how to run the institutions, then this is the wastage of time and energy. So my dear friend, we have to, in the light of new education policy, now the universities and the institutions will be merged. Those institutions, those universities where the pedagogically they are weak, financially they are not survival, their viability is doubtful, they will be merged. And minimum number of student strength is fixed up to that is 3,000. Less than 3,000 number of students were enrolled, the institutions will be merged with other institutions and other colleges. So we will be in this national education policy. The best part is that we are having different kind of universities and institutions. The first category of universities, which includes research intensive universities, multidisciplinary research universities, MERUs, where the programs and the infrastructures will be developed to have the innovation, to have the quality research, and those who are willing, those who are wishing to lead innovative original researches, they will be, they will have the opportunity to serve with those organizations. Then second category of the universities are teaching intensive universities where only teaching will be imparted. There will be no research. And third category of institutions are autonomous, degree awarding autonomous colleges. So today we have central university, then state university, then deemed university, private university, colleges, aided colleges, government colleges, self-finance colleges. Now only three types of universities will be there. So with the help of that research intensive, teaching intensive, then degree awarding colleges. So the synergy will be established. Standards will be set by a council which will work under the Higher Education Council. And if Higher Education Council will be, assisted by 4 other councils. The first council will set the standard. The second council will manage the grants. Third council will ensure the quality, accreditation, and the last will ensure the regulations. So we will be having regulatory council, accreditation council, grants council, and standard setting councils. A 4 council will help the Higher Education Commission, and Higher Education Commission will be, the UGC and AICT will be merged. Now there will be only one commission, and that commission will be assisted by these 4 councils. We will have one kind of a standard to be followed across the country. Equity is definitely ensured. And then the grants for research purpose, we have National Research Fund, NRF is established. So that will look after the research related issues. So we have to groom the institutions by 2035 to be in the position to be an autonomous institution which can award degrees to the students. Because with the help of that degree, they will move to the universe. And the degree should have the value. If the degree of that particular college is not, attracting the students, then they will be finished. So because the autonomy, they will be having, there will be no affiliation, no licensing, no inspection, no affiliation. All colleges, they will be autonomous. Universities, autonomous already there, but the colleges will be autonomous. So no affiliation issue is there. The college will have their own degree. If the college degree is, having some value, credibility, it has some value in the market, then students will be attracted. So we have to, within the next 10 to 15 years, we have to groom and nurture the institutions to grow in that direction so that we can achieve this target. New products and new industries, knowledge is widely considered to be the essential generator. Without knowledge, this economy is based on knowledge economy. And our former Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh ji, has set up a knowledge commission. So knowledge-driven economy means intellectual property. Indians are known for its Indians are known for their intellects. Our professionals, especially scientists, engineers, they have proved their intellect to the world community. So we can have more innovations. Now, as far concerned the global innovation index, the improvement is being registered this year also. So continuously we are improving. Why? Because of the environment, because of the freedom, because of the opportunity given by the overall infrastructure is provided by the government. So government continuously trying to improve the quality of teaching, quality of research, quality of innovation, quality of business and everything. And the not only government, but science and technology contributes a lot. Because of advancement in science and technology, now the imagination, the business models, the entrepreneurs models, all kind of thinking, innovation approach has been drastically changed. This is the time of big data management. This time of Internet of Things. Now we are thinking of artificial intelligence, cloud computing. So advancement in the technology, advancement in science is leading to human life to a different domain. So we have to cope up with the changing technological advancements, with the changing modules of the business. We have to change our basic mavens that will help us to sustain, to survive. And successful economies are those which rely more on the ability of the people exploit the knowledge. So competitive advantage can be, we are having a demographic dividend. The major chunk of the population of our country comes and falls under the young category. So we are having this dividend that is to be trained properly, that is to be guided properly. And if we are having uh, this kind of leadership or mentorship, then definitely India will lead in all directions, including science and technology, including health care services or whatever is there. This pandemic has proved how systematically, how effectively the health professionals have managed. So that is a great lesson to the world community. So that is because of the knowledge economy. So we have to foster the young and bright minds and provide the environment, create the environment where they can innovate, they can think of. The next is research is vital for higher education's mission. To the creation of stimulating learning environment to attract, retain high quality faculty and students, to maintain cutting edge curriculum, to help sustain relationship with other academic institutions, the professions and industry to expand the boundaries of knowledge and understanding within the across the discipline, and now the multidisciplinary. So earlier, a student who was supposed uh, pursuing mechanical engineer cannot study history, but now a person pursuing in life science can also have other science, geography, can have geology. And I was sharing the research paper published by Professor Laljit Singh in Nature. It was basically, the paper is on genetic engineering, genetic root, how to identify the genetic root, and most of the diseases which are genetic diseases cannot be cured. So only a solution to those diseases is gene transformation. So by genetic engineering is required. And his paper covers geography, his paper includes anthropology, his paper includes medical science. So it was a multidisciplinary research paper. That is why it was placed as lead article in Nature Journal. So that is what we have to apply. If we are conducting a research, we have to apply the multidisciplinary nature. In higher education, we cannot think in isolation. If we are in isolation, we are not good researcher, or we are not sharing the information, so we cannot contribute in the welfare of the society. Higher education institution has three basic. We have to develop new product knowledge, produce new knowledge workers, and produce new knowledge producers. So we are here as a leader. Our responsibility is to produce new knowledge product, then new knowledge workers and producers. So the product, they will work as worker, and after working, they will be in a position to produce. So it is interlinked. It is related to each other. So we have to, and this is possible only when the environment is provided. When we will be performing and trying to attain the highest level of professionalism, or when we are, improving every day, improvement is our job. Improvement is our job means we have to create an environment every day. Ask ourselves what we have done today, what we learned. After end of the day, we have to analyze ourselves, and next day we have to improve. So we are globally competitive. And last year, one news was published by Springer Nature that India is the second highest country in as far concern the submission of research papers for publication. So publication in India, we are improving. We are also filing patents. We are also contributing but NRIs are, more in number as compared to the scientists working from India. They belong to India, but they are working with some other institutions, some other organizations where this kind of setup is there. Three types of institutions that I have already discussed: the research intensive, teaching intensive, and degree awarding. This kind of system presently is prevailing in US and UK. So we are trying to upgrade our education system. We have to change the whole revamping of the pedagogy, curriculum, examination pattern. Very fine morning, after completion of 1 year, 5 questions are asked, maybe changed, maybe not 5, maybe 20, some short answer, some very short answer, some long answer. And I have scored because yesterday I studied, and fortunately it was there in the question paper. I scored high marks and I got opportunity, and I became a very fine morning. I am very brilliant scholar and gold medalist. So this is not consistency. Continuous evaluation is very important. If we don't have this kind of mechanism, we cannot develop. So in the department, we have to uh, uh, create the environment. We have to initiate this continuous evaluation of the students. If continuously they are evaluated, then definitely they will grow. Otherwise, after end of the year, we cannot think they will be, a great leader. They will contribute a lot in the development of the society, humanity, and economy of the country. Developing research capacity and capability are no longer optional, and research is no longer an individual activity, but a major institutional challenge. It is increasingly project-based, externally funded, and subjected to continual assessment, evaluation at the national, international, and individual level. So we have to, research is, as I have already mentioned, it is not individualistic. We have to be collaborative. We have to be have extend, seek the collaboration. We have to join hands, and we have to share the laboratory. We have to share the ideas. Then we can grow, and this is good. And good practices should be initiated from the department. We can involve other departments, uh, other faculty colleagues, not only from within the university, but outside the university. Other universities, other institutions can be involved. So that is very important. Research management is defining its strategy. This includes to outline the policy environment, then identify, what is the strength of the department. Some faculty may be good in analytical, uh, some faculty may be good in conceptualization, some maybe in designing, in articulation. So we have to identify the strength of our faculty. Then we have to sort out the weaknesses. Don't uh, dominate. We should not let the weaknesses to dominate the department. We should grow the strength. We should enhance the strength. And whatever opportunity after 1995, when WTO came into existence, right from this, the education, higher education or other education sectors entered in global competition. So before 95, the situation was different. And the government of India, right from 96, they are also trying to attract foreign universities. In 96, the proposal was introduced in the parliament. Again in the 2005-6, again it was, the efforts were made, the attempt was made by the government, but could not succeed. Again, when Kapil Sibbalji was having the charge of Ministry of Human Resource Development in 2010, again it was introduced, discussed, but could not approve by the parliament. So in 2015, Niti Aayog suggested the government to prepare a strategy paper. It was the suggestion of the Niti Aayog to the Commerce Ministry. Commerce Ministry prepared a strategy paper, and that strategy paper suggested some initiatives taken to improve the activities related to commerce and industry in the country, basically to attract a foreign currency. And the suggestions given by the Commerce Ministry, one of the suggestions was to accommodate and attract foreign universities. Accommodating foreign university in India has been, treated as the source of earning foreign currency by the Commerce Ministry. And that strategy paper in 2017 was shared with the Ministry of HRD and the Ministry of External Affairs. So now in 2020, in new education policy, foreign universities, top 100 universities are allowed to open their campuses in India. And a provision is also more regulatory, provisions are to be formulated to attract and accommodate foreign universities in India. But initially, this provision is incorporated in national education policy. Top 100 ranked university will be invited. If this will be here, so 7 to 8 lakh students per year who were pursuing and who are approaching US and UK for higher studies, that number will be minimized. Second, we can also attract from Africa and other countries to study in India. So we can, if we can check the number of students going for higher studies to US, we can also save the money. Domestic money will be saved. And if we will be in a position to attract the foreign students, we can also earn foreign currency. That is the objective. And this is now incorporated. So we have to identify if collaboration we are trying to with the with other universities and organizations. So we have to formulate in that context also. So top 100 ranked universities will be with 50 crore. Another provision is there. 50 crore rupees corpus they will form when they want to start their campus in India. And 75% out of that corpus they will use for development of the campus in India, and rest they will send back to their nation. So this is the beauty that we will be having world-class universities and institutions in the days to come in India, where the students from India and overseas can have the opportunity, and it will not only help to create the environment to have the competition, but it will also help to grow the economy, which will be based on the foreign currency. So we have, while traditionally this has been informal process, today it is considered essential component of good governance. So we have to think for if collaboration is there, if environment is there. SWOT analysis, we have environmental. This is known as environmental scanning. If environmental scanning is done, so in this SWOT analysis, the strength and weakness is internal of the organization. It is controllable. We can control. We can enhance our strength. We can minimize our weakness. But opportunities and threats, this is uncontrollable, external. We cannot control the environment. We cannot control the challenges being posed by the international legal provisions or international cultural issues or whatever is there. So, but we can have the, if environmental scanning is there, so we can utilize the environment. We can utilize the opportunity. The assessment of university-based research has become essential element. This is because of two major factors are there. Public demand for greater accountability, and second is return on investment, linked to the importance attached of the higher education's role as economic driver. So public demand and accountability to the society is very important. And second, return again on investment is related to the what yield we have, so how we can earn from this particular venture. We can also have a systematic way for conducting and leading the research. So we have to draw the priorities and checklists is to be prepared. So what is the support for research? What technology and industry cooperation, international cooperation, research related training like workshops, etc., or what quality assurance and documentation we require is to be defined. So what is the next issue that I would like to discuss related to the good practices for research capacity, how to develop the capacity. So institutional and indicative actions. We can invest the investment strategy, we can have the budget, we can have the active researchers with the help of the collaboration or partnership we can also have. Then establish appropriate organizational structure. Without a structure, we cannot. It is there in PPT. You maybe watching, visualizing. So I'm not reading word by word. I'm trying to summarize and to make the general idea of the issues. Then limited number of research priorities. We cannot have all the research in one time. So we have to priorities to be decided, priorities to fixed. Then we have research clusters and centers is to be developed. If this kind of competitive advantage theory can work here, we have to align and the funding of recruitment research priorities. We have the apply performance indicators, what benchmarking we are having with us and is required. So that is to be the assessment and benchmarking performance according to international estimates. That is very important. Earlier, this benchmarking and this performance related issue, I would like to quote one very small example. In India, we were having ISI mark as a quality of product. If we want to judge the quality, it was ISI. Now ISO certification, now ISO has emerged. So ISI is nowhere. It means ISO was having more, vast, more coverage in comparison to ISI. The similar parameter, similar assessment criteria is here. Whatever we want to, create. Sir, any problem? So we have to include the and consider the global need and global demand and global aspiration of the people, of the users, of the target customers who are there. So whatever design is being set or we are trying to develop, we have to consider the global people expectations. The tool can be applied anywhere. If this universality is there, then the parameter is standardized. It will be practiced. It will be used. It will have some value. So we have to think in that. Strategy aligns to other universities and industry partners. Without industry, we are having academic lead, researchers to score API. इसको अविद्या कहते हैं. One is education. In Garuda Puran, the objective of education is very clearly mentioned. tat karma yatam vandhai sa vidyaya vimukti. In Vishnu Puran में ये पहले से है. tat karma yatam vandhai sa vidyaya vimukti. Aya saya param karma vidya anya silpa nepunam. Education should liberate. That is the objective. और हम क्या कर रहे हैं? We are scoring for API, for promotion to next level, for promotion to next level, for promotion to next level. No. We should try to attain the highest level of professionalism by doing unusual, beyond the defined, by performing karma. And that is what is mentioned in Vishnu Puran. The objective of education is to liberate, not to earn bread and butter. ये तो हो ही जाएगा. We have to think beyond that. So that is the objective. We have to lead and conduct researches that are used and that are beneficial and for welfare of the society, industry, common man of. And it will be possible with the help of the leadership. And the last component of this governance is leadership. So you all academic leaders, as head of the department, head of the institution, tomorrow vice chancellor, director, or more than that, you have to possess the qualities to create an environment to improve. Endorsement of research strategy by senior management and boards of the trustees. So leadership can provide. In the very initial interaction of today's lecture, I talked that the ministerial staff is thinking to improve the quality is not possible. So head of the faculties, head of the department, head of the institution should think, then it will be possible. So now the leadership means what is a leader? Leader leading to the people, influencing, commanding the people. There are different types of leaders in the society. Guiding the people, they are called leaders. Autocratic leadership is there, democracy is there, participation is there, laissez-faire, where everybody is competent. That is the situation of laissez-faire. But we have transformational leadership. And transformational leadership means where we identify the influences, what factor can influence. Then we inspire the faculties, we inspire the people. Can we have the intellectual stimulation? So that is transformational. So leader can lead, should influence, should command, should guide, and different forms of leaderships are there. So I will try to define leader by position, leader by personality, charisma, leader by moral, for example, leader by power. Teachers are the role model of their students, not from today or yesterday, for generations and generations. So leaders, teachers should be the quality. There is a basic difference between the managers and teachers. Manager focus on the things and the leader focus on the people. They do things right. They try to do the right things, plan, and they inspire. Manager organize, leader influence. These are the basic points which makes a difference between leader and the managers. So this is very much visible. So follow the rules, manager will follow. Leader, they are beyond. They will shape the entities. They will control, manager will control and leader will build. The common activities is includes planning, organizing, directing, controlling these. So we have to also, as a leader, we have to think in this context also. We should not be like a manager. So if we are a leader, we have to think beyond the stereotype thinking. Our thinking, our approach should be different one. We have to create the structure. We have to define the hierarchy and delegate the power. We have to communicate networks. So these all are in details. Then the directing, how to control, these all are in details. Leadership trait includes intelligence, then physical personality, aggressive, different components of leaderships are there. So we are not going to in detail of the leaderships, style and the discussion is on the, especially after this COVID-19. So I was discussing that we have more than 52,000 colleges in India right now. 1,000 we have universities, especially technical institutions. We have a number of colleges. So what happened after this COVID? The students flow to out of the country is purely controlled, is checked. Now there is very limited number of the students who are trying to go to outside of the nation for higher studies. But every year, this is the ratio, the approximate ratio. The number of the students who appear in GRE, who appear in TOEFL, IE, LTS, JEE. JEE is now just, entrance has been done. So we have a number of colleges, world-class colleges. These number of colleges are related to technical, professional colleges. Universities in general, but colleges are technical related issues. So these are the basic components. Examinations, classes are now, stopped online module. We are having this virtual FDP classes also. So similarly, the routine classes are also being done on virtual mode. this is the need of the time. So how long it will continue, we cannot say, but it is going on. Then the requirement for higher education challenges that in this COVID-19 period, especially those who are working with the laboratories, we are having the samples, very complicated samples, especially in the case of life sciences or in chemical sciences. So they need to maybe suffering because of lockdown, because of other issues. So needs to be properly analyzed. That is the issue. That is the problem. Then we have other fundamental issues, national education policy type research offered. So we have fundamental research, then applied research, then problem-oriented research, problem-solving research, qualitative, quantitative, experimental. So qualitative research and quantitative research. When we want to identify the problem, it starts from qualitative, and when the basic input is received, then we try to quantify. So both are interrelated, I think, and both should be included. In the very first stage, when we are in qualitative, means we are trying to explore. Then in exploratory, we have to discuss in a group. We have to have the panel discussions. On the basis of the panel and the group, we can have some idea. With the help of that idea, we can move ahead. We can formulate hypothesis. So from zero, from vague idea to have some idea, we initiate research, which is known as exploratory. So we have to explore, and after exploration, then we will move ahead. So leaders should have the exemplary character, personality, and by our academic input, we can do this. By our contribution in the research, by contribution, our several qualities I have played the slide. It will be there for you. So everything is here. But in Gita, as it is said, that the highest level of professionalism we have to try to attain. And these are the world university ranking systems. And I have already mentioned that 60 to 70% weightage to all the world university ranking is from research related activities. And in India, most of the colleges, most of the universities are not having basic infrastructure to conduct the research. So, but after this new education, national education policy, we will be having research intensive universities where we can expect world class rankings of the universities. So this will be the biggest achievement of this national education policy. But what is going on? We have NIRF ranking, we have NAC also, then other program-wise rankings are also there. In psychology, they have different tools. In medical science, they have different parameters. In engineering colleges, in management colleges, NBA ranking. In ISO is also universally applied quality related issues are there. Then we have NAC is mandatory for universities, for colleges. NIRF is also introduced. Now parameters are there. But teacher is important. Everything, every infrastructure is there if every facility is provided and teachers are not available. And if teachers are available and teachers are not motivated, as a leader, we are not motivating, then the outcome, the objective of the education cannot be achieved. So we have to, one question is there, I will try to respond after finishing the little discussion which is left here. So we have to try to improve. If teachers are there, if leader like you who are motivating them, then every objective can be achieved. So the infrastructure issues can be also resolved with the presence of the faculty members. But unfortunately, we are having a huge dearth of the competent and capable faculty members, in not only in engineering colleges, in management discipline and in other disciplines also, there is a huge dearth of the faculty members, which is very important. Without teachers, we cannot. So the contribution academic in QS ranking, in Times Higher Education ranking, I will also speak. So the percentage is already mentioned here. So academic reputation, then the citation, then the employer reputation, international faculty, international students, and faculty-student ratio. So all will make 100%. And if the academic and citation is included, it is 60%. So 60% is coming from the academic. And if alumni of the university, if faculty member of the university is, Nobel Award winner, then the university, the institution would definitely be, on the higher side of the rankings. A QS global ranking is also this already I have discussed. Return on investment, leadership thought, innovation, class. So these parameters are to be taken into consideration and is to be localized. We have to start from our own level, from our own thinking, from our own parameters. Then we have NIR ranking, which is practicing in India. All the institutions they are having. Here the teaching and learning resources 30%, research professions, and the outcome reach. What is the outcome means the placement. So what is the placement is also very important, and quality of placement. Then outreach, what is the implication to the society is also to be explained. Research is very important, combined publication, then quality publications. So teaching, learning, what kind of faculty we have, what type of number of faculties, as I have already mentioned. So that is also a very important component that we have to look into the issue. And IIFL ranking is also going on. Then we have the world rankings, calibrated performance indicators, 13 metrics of the world university ranking, which includes teaching, learning, all are the same. Somehow a few area will be there. Then Times Higher Education ranking, Times Higher Education ranking and QS ranking, BRICS ranking, Shanghai ranking, all world-class universities are focusing on research. They are focusing on teaching thought ratio. They are focusing on patents. And the research means patent. Research means indexing. Research means H indexing means citation. And if all is there, innovation. If innovation is there, then definitely it will be patented. If novelty is there, it will be patented. And if patent is there, then definitely it will have a high reach, high impact factor. If impact factor will be there, then definitely all other are inclusive with that research input. So Atal ranking of institutions innovation achievement is also having some how to lead the innovations, how to develop the institutions in a different way, to measure the quality innovations, to lead internationally, make the institution globally competitive. So all the initiatives are now there. We are having global competition. We have the environment where we can exhibit our capacity, our potentiality, our competency, and the provisions, the funds and infrastructures are to be provided is available. We have to use and make proper utilization. Then definitely the institutions of the country can join this global team of world ranking, universities ranking. These are the requirements, budget related issues, governance issues, infrastructure issues. Then we have learning methods, entrepreneurship is also very important. Major ranking criteria suggested. So these are the suggestions that we have to publish the papers in Australian Business Deans Council. We have raised the funds by polycoms workshops. We have to change the structure, curricula, and means we have to update ourselves as per the changing environment, as per the changing world innovations, changing waves globally. Then we can certainly the place we can succeed, and not only succeed, we can win. These are the issues that I was trying to discuss. This will help us to improve the rankings. Thank you very much for providing me this opportunity to share my views on the strategy to improve the to reform the department and university as a leader. My take on the day is we as a leader we try to create the environment. As a professional, we try to perform the highest level of professionalism, and as an individual, our objective is should be to contribute significantly for the welfare of the society, for the welfare of the institution. The personal agenda, the personal goals will automatically filled with the larger goal and larger target is tried to be achieved. So we have to think big, and if the big is achieved, then a small will be definitely achieved. So with these words, I congratulate Professor Madan Saab for his initiatives taken, especially in this pandemic period, and inviting me to have interaction with the academic leaders. I'm happy to see a huge number of academicians, especially from technical background, technical discipline. Now, as per the national education policy, you will also not have standalone nature. You will be converted into multidisciplinary. So if if a student is pursuing mechanical engineer, he or she can also have the opportunity to study history or accountancy or marketing or other disciplines. So this will be the beauty that the students will, attain in the days to come. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this valuable lecture. Sir, we have a question in the chat. What
Haji.
will be the measurements taken for the welfare of the private employees?
Measurement taken for private employees in
Yes,
which
sir.
organization? Private employment means, we have two types of private employees. One is working in unorganized sector and another is in organized sector. So those who are working in unorganized sector, after lockdown 1 from the month of March, CMIE report published in the month of April indicates that more than 20 crores were jobless. They lost their job who were working with unorganized sector. But in organized sector means the private sector तो both हैं, both are the privates. But in organized sector, International Labour Organization ILO report indicates that 41 lakhs human resource they lost their jobs. So as per the question raised by the indicated in the chat box, the private sector is combination of organized and unorganized. Prime Minister has declared one scheme, and that scheme is not new. It was the old one, but they expanded the contribution of the employees working covering which the employees which covered under this Prime Minister scheme, and under that scheme they were provided the EPF facility up to August 2020. So government has tried to protect the interest of the employees working with private organizations, especially during this pandemic. But after this new education policy, what I presume and what I feel that there will be no private and no public. They will be autonomous. So autonomy will be there. Right now they are having the financial autonomy, but academic autonomy is not there in the private colleges. The syllabus is designed by the university. The examinations are being conducted by the university. So the colleges are only teaching they are employing and that employment means the recruitment of the faculty is also with the approval of the vice chancellor of the university. So this kind of the restrictions and this kind of interference is there right now. But once this national education policy will be implemented, then there will be no, no affiliation, no inspection type of things. So they will be having their own syllabi. They can borrow from Harvard, they can borrow that syllabi from Oxford, they can invite faculties from anywhere, and they have to run, if they are willing to run the institution, they can go to any extent as far concern the quality of teaching and research. So,
Sir, I have a question. Will it not create an anarchy kind of a situation which confuses and more perplexing situation where the child is totally baffled? Like now where to go? As of now, we know, okay, if he's in a Punjab, he know, okay, this Guru Nanak Dev University or say Maharashtra University or Tamil Nadu University, it has so many colleges. So uniformity is there. So how, I feel so it will be very complexing and for employer also to decide, for child to decide. Every college is giving different courses.
no, different courses will not be there. Now, three types of institutions will exist. And what you want to say that the universities are recognized, they are having their equity in the society, their name is there, and with that brand, they are the students are earning their degree and using. It was in the practice, and what we have observed after 70 years, and especially after 34 years of the last education policy was declared in 86. So after 34 years, what we change has been observed. No improvement, nothing, no noticeable improvement has been recorded or observed as per concern the employability. The reports indicates that the engineers 7% are not only 7% engineers are employable. Similarly, in other disciplines also the employability is reducing. We are not awarding, we are distributing the degrees. So if the level of the education is like this, if we are focusing on distribution, so what is the relevance and what is the use if they are not employable? They are not having the competence and skill which is required. What that there should be, if it is not there. Second, the brand equity of an institution for 100 years or for 102 years, 200 years, is definitely will be affected, but they will be converted. Nothing is going to change. Suppose we have Gurukul Kangadi University, so this university will be converted as research intensive. So they will conduct the research, and then Jain College is there in the Haridwar itself. So this Jain College is added college. It will become teaching intensive college university. And other autonomous colleges, means the self-finance colleges are there. If the strength of the student is more than 3,000, they will be autonomous. There will be no affiliation. They will become autonomous college, and they will award the degree. If the student is having the belief and the brand, the reliability of the institution is attracting the stakeholders, then they would definitely prefer. Otherwise, they will go to Gurukul Kangadi, they will go to other college or other universities. So this equity will be there. That is not going to lose. The second thing, confusion and anarchy, you are talking as far concerned and you are related to the subject discipline selection. In CBCS, choice-based credit system, right now we are also having a small version of this, which is supposed to be implemented in national education policy. Under CBCS, the students now they are opting through some courses through online. They have registered for MOOCs on SWAYAM portal. They are opting some courses from other disciplines also. In premier institutions, in other central universities and other universities in India, the CBCS is working on. So CBCS, if we expand the form of CBCS, that will be there in the new education policy. The larger version, CBCS is quite small, but larger version, we can see that mechanical engineer is going to study. But one issue that I agree with you, suppose we have IIM, Indian Institute of Management, standalone institution, IITs. If IIMs are known for management and they will be starting offering history or geography, then their identity, their equity, and their USP will be questionable. That is that I agree. But as far concerned, the anarchy and the confusion like thing is not there. As CBCS worked properly, is going on properly, then this new national education policy where the students will have the freedom, will have the autonomy to opt the subject as per their own interest, as per their own choice, will not hamper, it will not create any kind of anarchy, will not create any chaos. It will be in the interest of the students. It will be in the interest. Otherwise, if today my parents forced me to go to study biology, and later on I realized that biology was not good, I would be better in mathematics. Or if I have opted mathematics, then I realized that mathematics is not better. I would have been some in humanities. So that is the, it is the outcome of psychological research also. It is not a sudden development that government has planned this and implemented. No, it has gone several, discussions, several stages discussions, and after very extensive and exhaustive psychological outcomes, psychological researches are also incorporated. Then it is there in this form. And still the discussions and webinars and the conversations are going on. So I think that the standalone universities like Pantnagar University is known for agriculture. If they will be offering management, they will be offering history and other courses, then definitely it will have some issue. So that is the my point. I think somehow I would be in a position to convince and to convey what you were trying to clarify.
Right, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
I
sir.
would like to, yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. I would like to invite Diksha, Miss Diksha, for vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving me a chance to thank Professor Purohit. Thank you so much, Professor Purohit, for giving us an insightful session on the new education policy. And the way you explain the education policy is very wonderful and effective to learn the new education policies and the reforms, how we are able to get the ranking of the institutions and all. So how you tell us the strategy about the reform of them in the universities, and it's a very, very nice session to hear from you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Convey my regard to Professor Madan Saab. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Dear participants, we have some announcements to make. Sir, Madan sir.
Thank you, Professor Purohit. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, would you like to add something, Madan sir?
It's okay. You may continue, please.
Okay, sir. Thank you, dear participants. Ashwini ji will make some announcements after this session. Ashwini ji?
Yes, sir.